Alright, me lovers, welcome to a wet, wintry West Country. My name is Seth, and this is Sweet Chariot, where this evening I'm making a yew self bow. See part 1, if you want to go from the start-ish. But yes, here we are. I brought you in a little bit closer this evening because you're going to want to get a bit of a closer look at this. Right, what to start with? Let's remind ourselves of what we're doing here first. We're making a yew self bow. This is yew here, this guy here, and a shared feature of any yew bow that you make, be it your English longbow, or the flatbow we're making here, or a Iyumi, a asymmetrical Maruki style bow, which I've done a couple of. They both broke, but they both worked really well because of the nature of yew. Let's go over that quickly because that is what we're here to look at this evening. The sapwood, this stuff here, the white stuff. Yeah, your yew bow works best. I say best because I don't believe it's actually essential. If you can find a nice enough piece of heartwood, you don't actually need the sapwood, need being the word there. But if you're able to retain the sapwood, just a wee layer of it, just a real skinny layer over the heartwood here, it makes your bow stronger and it makes your bow faster. I guess it's probably a good time to, well, first, yeah, don't fall over, you stay there please. This bow started life a little bit like this. It's around a 4-inch diameter log, something like that. And that shape is going to transfer to this particular bow. If you had a wider, flatter piece, you could take a flatter cut across your sapwood, but because you know it's quite a small log, there's going to be a bit of curve to the heartwood, this orange stuff we got in here. So we need to try and follow that. And if we do that, we're going to leave a nice layer. So there you go. A nice layer of wood over the heartwood. Yeah, it's let's imagine we'd cut away into here. It doesn't need to be much, looking like a mill. If you're doing the raw cutting we're doing here, obviously you want to leave a little bit more than that because you need material to work your tools down through, go through your rasp and then your card scraper and your sandpaper, so that you end up with a nice smooth layer of wood without any rasp marks or gashes or gouges or splits or anything like that. So yes, this is what it looks like, in fact. Give a good reference point. You see, yew is a really disorderly wood. So if you're able to yeah, some will be easier than others. You'll be able to see it and you'll be able to extract the piece of wood a lot easier. This one is not. This one is not easy. But this is effectively what it looks like. Even when you've got knots in your limb, if you're mindful of leaving a bit more material around, it doesn't matter. The knot just sort of is incorporated in that solid structure that you've got. Put that down so it doesn't fall. Yeah. And that one as well. I'll have a quick look at that. See, it's got disorder in it. It's got strange growth rings and whatnot that you can see here, but it has still formed a solid structural layer. In fact, this bow's a bit weird. That's a better example. We had a dive here, so we've got a strange grain structure here, but it's thicker than the grain structure up here. I was not sure this was going to work, whether the heartwood would actually, you know, work as a bow properly, but it has. It works really well. Both limbs bend in the same fashion, which I didn't expect them to do. But that's the challenge. We need to try and leave behind a layer of sapwood over the heartwood bow that you're going to try and release from this log. Now, this limb, let's say this is the middle here. I need to remark the middle because I've cut away the markings. That's one of my markings. Having long hair is annoying. Whereabouts is the middle? It's going to be about here, isn't it? Right, so that's one of my limbs right there, starting to take shape. Now this one, no problem. No knots on the front here. We've got a couple in the belly here, but those aren't going to be a problem. There'll be a problem to cut through with your draw knife, but that's okay. The rasp is going to deal with that. And we'll also use the rasp to tidy up the front here. And of course, the best way to do it is to look down your cross section, see where your heartwood is, and then see how much sapwood you got left on top. We're down to about 2 mil now, so we've got plenty. And of course, because there's no imperfections here, just gently work down the sapwood until we've got a layer left behind, very slightly curved on the front here to try and match that unique piece of heartwood that we've got. It's just a very slight, what's the word, circular sort of profile to it. So if we were to take the sapwood just flat, we're going to cut through. We're going to end up with a line down the middle here where the heartwood is exposed if we do that. So we're going to try and just try and match that shape. This limb is not the one that I'm concerned about. This one is. Yeah, it's got its corresponding imperfections on the back there. Much less of a problem down on the front, because this stuff's going to be stretched. So you imagine it this way. This is the tip's going to bend that way. So all of this material here gets squished. And you think like a brick wall. If you just stack up bricks and don't sort of cement them together, if you put something on top of it, it's not going anywhere. It's not a problem. But if you try and push it, that force will act on it fine. So yeah, imperfections on the belly you can get away with. Obviously you don't want big cavities and cracks and things like that. Excuse me. But the knots like this, they're going to get squished, so it's not a problem. But a knot like this in the sapwood, you think about it, it's going to bend like this. All this is going to get stretched. So any imperfections, like your brick wall that hasn't been cemented together, any imperfections are going to get pulled apart, and that's what's going to lead the bow to break. And this is going to be tricky. I can sort of prepare my soul with this one and go, hey, it's a good chance. There's a good chance it could fail. So we've got a knot here, and a knot here to try and deal with. This is going to be the main problem, because most of the bending happens here. Sort of most of the stress will be right in the middle of the limb. Like that one might actually make up the base of the handle just about. No, it'll still be an active limb. Yeah. So how do we do this? Because it can be done. It makes it trickier. It's not an A-grade piece, but we know full well that you can have yew bows with knots in the front, but it all comes down to how you approach it. I hope you can see it at least a little bit. So knots. It's you gotta remember what the wood's trying to do when a knot is here. And well, although you don't need to follow the growth rings like you would on something like ash or Osage orange to make the wood as strong as possible, you do need to be mindful of them. Because if you go ahead and just cut that whole knot off, you're going to end up with a big cavity in your sapwood. But your sapwood is here, it's just ramped up around the lump, around the knot that you've got here. So you can actually see them just about. It'd be easier if I'd oiled it. You can see the growth rings running down here. So what we need to do is pick up this layer of sapwood. So this is the layer I've got here, and we've got a ring there, ring there, ring there, ring there, ring there, leading all the way up. This one piece of sapwood will also go all the way up to the top of the knot, but it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 8 growth rings on top of it, which we need to get rid of. The key to dealing with a knot on the front of any piece of wood, because this is not just you that you're going to get this with, is to cut from the knot. And so I've already sort of done it here. I cracked on the other night. Yeah, so here this evening I've got a hot minute before I've got to go to Bath and deliver some bread. And so this is the way that we tend to do, well, I tend to do bow making. It's quite a bit of effort. It can take quite a bit of time. You just grab yourself time whenever you can do it. So yeah, hot minute before I go to Bath. Let's see if we can deal with this one knot right here. And like I said, I already started cutting away. I'm going to demonstrate the techers that you want to use to try and maintain those growth rings. But yes, you start from the center of the knot and you cut away from it. What you're going to find is if you cut towards it, it's going to rip up. You're going to either just pick up and rip disorderly, or you're going to cut through a grain that you don't want to. So, yes, start from the center of the imperfection and cut away. There's another little knot here which will cause issues. All about where the grains try and run. And I guess what makes the sapwood, the whitewood here, such an effective backing for the bow is the fact that it's super fibrous. And you'll notice that with the rasp, it gums up the rasp really well. Of course, we've got to keep in mind how much sapwood we actually have. Let's say I've done a lot of the big cuts. You can see from the top of the knot here just how much sapwood there was. There's probably as much sapwood as there was heartwood to play with. So the first thing I had to do is cut away, what, like a ½ an inch of sapwood to try and leave about 1 millimeter of sapwood across the rest of the limb, like I did down there. Haven't quite done it down there, to be fair. I think I've concentrated more on this limb. Yeah, I'd say a good policy is to sort of tackle the things that are going to cause you problems quite early on, because then you can decipher whether the bow is actually viable or not, the stave is viable. You could put a whole bunch of effort into one limb and then the other limb just has no chance of working. So yes, you can see what I'm doing here. So if I was going the other way, if I was cutting towards it, it would be awfully messy. The knife would stop about here. You'd be tempted to, you know, lift it up, and you're just going to rip material out. Let's see if I can demonstrate it just a little bit. Also, you could do a little bit of this sort of cutting in there as well. Yeah, you can see that rips up. Yeah, there we go. Still quite a bit of a lump there. I'm taking a bit of material away. Let's see if we can flatten them down a little bit and see exactly what this knot does underneath here. Like I demonstrated, like I showed you on this one, it doesn't need to be much material left behind. In fact, it might have worked without any extra material in this area, but you don't know. You need to just sort of guard yourself against that area. That is any area that's liable to give you problems, particularly on the sapwood. Let's cut down a bit more this way. Yeah, troublesome area. That's not even thinking about this one. This one should be a bit more simple to clear up. It's not quite as pronounced. Excuse me. Now, the fact of the matter is, this bow could break, but you don't know if it will until you go ahead and make it. I think that's gone a little bit deep there. Sore with my drawer knife. The rasp sorts everything out. You've got a piece of wood that is coming up that you don't want to. I'm taking across the grain. Just keeping in mind what you're trying to achieve. A nice, neat piece of sapwood. It's a bit of a pain being right there. Slowly but surely it should collapse away. Ooh, steady. Careful with your knives, obviously. Sorry, just got to concentrate here a sec. So that is the technique I found on YouTube for dealing with knots like this. Sorry, like I say, what did I say? I ramble a lot on these things. Other wood will have this issue. Some knots will be too big. They will not have left you a good structure for your belly. But small ones like this, you should be able to get to work. But as long as you don't just cut straight through it is the important bit. You got to peel that growth ring away. Like I say, we'll be left with just this growth ring that runs up underneath these spider's web sort of pattern. Like I say, I don't know if you can see it there. It's like a concentric rings going out. And each one of those rings would have attached to a piece of sapwood that, you know, run over the top of the one that we want to keep. Easy does it. And all that starts to become clear when you start removing material. And there's your core concept of sculpting. You can start with broad strokes, like we did here. Just remove chunks. And at some point you need to slow down and go more gently. Or just find yourself a piece of wood that has no knots. This one I did not think had knots quite this bad. They were hiding underneath the bark. That is a growth ring about to disappear. Can you see? Probably not. It would be much better to do an edit. I hope this bow doesn't break. It would be nice to take a piece of wood from log to working bow without having to redo the entire series. That would be neat. So let's get it right. I've talked about this before. There's lots of ways to go wrong and it can put you off doing it. I mean, just the effort of getting the wood and storing it and the space and the tools it's going to take. It'd be very easy to go, nah, you know what, I ain't going to do that. That's not good. That is not what Sweet Chariot is about. Type 2 fun. That enjoyable struggle. I'll tell you what, if you didn't like Type 2 fun, you'd give it up after the first snap. You wouldn't have taken yourself back out to the forest and cut another piece of the tree. And it is worth it. It is worth sticking with. Because if all goes to hell, you know how to make a piece of technology that supported human beings for, well, through their evolution to become the creatures that we are today. So I don't know, to not know this technology is almost an insult to them, I see. It doesn't respect you. If you don't respect this technology, you don't respect yourself. How about that? Discuss. I think we're getting somewhere. I have to flick back and have a look. We are slowly but surely knocking this down. Yeah, and we're down to 1, 2, 3. 3 rings. Before it was like 8. So just one by one, remove those little rings. Right on the very tip, I haven't got to worry as much about, you know, following the curve of the heartwood, or not, in fact. Is this my straight? I think this is my straight limb, you know, so I'm gonna have to start shaping it up. So we've got flat belly, sorry, yeah, flat belly, flat back, and then we're going to use that orientation to straighten the other limb too. We create an anchor limb. I'm pretty sure it's this one that, yeah, so this is the flattest out of the two, and we sort of propeller twist. I think that you could pick either one. I think maybe that one twists a little bit more. This is how each piece of wood is unique. It's going to be a unique shape, the length you got to deal with, and then unique sort of bundle of little problems that you're going to have, be it your knots on that side or your knots on this side, your knots on the side of the thing. But knowing how to attack them, I guess it sort of opens up more pieces of wood that are worth having a go at making a bow with. I'm going to run the rasp back over that again. It still hasn't opened up. You can imagine it's just a little tiny dot, but it, you know, I don't know if it goes straight down through the sapwood or it opens up through the sapwood. You need to sort of excavate the knot. And make sure you don't cut through any structure that is there. Getting familiar with what the structure is the key. Is that a good cut? No, it feels a bit deep actually. Let's get rid of that one again. Just a tiny little decision like that. That was a 0.5 millimeter cut that I shouldn't have made. I didn't pick up the grain in the right way. Yeah, that area right there. Same spot. That's where the grain changes direction. So you can see how knots slow the process right down. And on the tip you can hack away as you need. And up around these areas, slow right down. Scrape away those growth rings. Let's do on this side. Take the rasp to that again. So Now that's opened up as a even bigger than the main one I was working on here. Yew bows are full of surprises. Shouldn't have done that, that was too deep. We're all good though, still got layers of sapwood to play with. Ooh, and a knife on my foot. I better get to bath. I've made some progress here. Yes, the takeaway. Using this, you always use this. Because this is going to run into problems that this fixes. And this isn't quick enough compared to this. I mean, you could do all your material removing with this if you wanted to, but this is far quicker and more precise in certain ways. So yeah, this together. Remember to pick up those growth rings. It can be hard to decipher. You sort of train your eye to it. You'll spot the layer of wood, the layer of sapwood that you want to keep. And if you cut away, sort of left a lump of wood around here, you're going to see it. You're going to see those growth rings coming out. You've got to imagine they are layered one on top of each other until they get to the one that you want to keep. So you need to remove them one by one. You'll end up with a piece of sapwood with none of these circular growth ring lines on it. There might be some sort of bleeding through, but you'd have got rid of the most obvious ones, and it will run up over the knot and away from it, and you should have a nice strong piece of wood there. Then the next challenge will be the amount of material you remove from the other side, because obviously you remove too much that side, it could just break anyway. But hopefully having left material on the front, you can allow it to bend, or at least not break. So you can, it's only going to take up one spot of your limb. If you had like 2 or 3 in a row, this limb is going to be hard to tiller. Hopefully this one will be off the side of the limb, but we don't know. We don't know until we get there. I've got a lot more scraping to do. But yeah, I need to go deliver some bread. So thanks for joining me, and I will pick up the pace with this one. I know we all want to see it floor tillered and working to some degree, and then snapping. But yeah, thanks again everybody. Time to give the people of Bath their bread. It's a very important job. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one.